Some of the best advice that I would say is that you have to realize that you're going to change a lot as a person over the years that you're married. And it's important to be flexible, that you're okay with those changes and you're willing to work through them together. You're going to change. You're going to be a different person than the person that you originally married. And that's totally okay. As long as you can be willing to communicate and talk through those changes and understand that each person is different, and that's perfectly fine. And it's important to embrace those changes too. So that's what I would say.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's one of the things that I wish that I would have heard beforehand was just because you might not have everyone on board doesn't mean you shouldn't still trust your gut. For me, it was lots of differing opinions all over the place, and they weren't in those talks with us, talking about our future, and they weren't in our budgeting future conversations or our talks about kids, and I had to trust my gut to know that I know who you were, and the strangers who were just looking out for me might not have been in those, and they might not know everything. So to just understand and to ask the deep questions ahead of time so that you can answer all of those from the deepest part of your soul before you say yes.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things about being married, is that you're going to live with somebody day after day, and they will literally change.
We changed everything.
Like, they'll change their interests, they'll change their beliefs, they'll change how they think,
changed.
How they approach problems, how they approach people.
Locations changed us, coming from the East Coast to the West Coast, and now
I'll say this a little bit in my vows, but we've moved 5 times since we've been married. We moved 7 times since we've been married.
Because I have that in my vows.
We've each had 5 different jobs. Our life, I always envisioned marriage being an adventure. And I didn't fully realize how much of an adventure it really would be.
So I think one of the best things that we've decided to do right from the beginning was counseling. We started our relationship with marriage counseling, and when things came up, we went right back into it, because that third party was so incredibly helpful to say, what I'm hearing is that when you say this, he doesn't take it that way. And so we both have a deep desire to understand each other and where we're coming from, and it helps when you just have someone else saying, how about you change it a little so that they can receive it better? How about you change your tone? Or how about, giving those creative ideas that you might not have thought yourself? And we keep going back to it, and we talked about it last night. Let's continue this habit, because it's been some of the most life-changing conversations that we've had have started in counseling.
And I'd say each person, especially between male and female, experience how they're loved differently. And it's important, number one, to realize that my spouse receives love differently than I do. And it's routine for me to try to love the way that I feel loved, rather than try to love her the way that she feels loved. And until you have someone that can help you realize the differences between how you love and how you feel loved, it's key, because there will be much friction when I'm trying to love the way that I feel loved,
right,
and she doesn't
Like,
feel it. You know what I mean?
Like I'm doing the dishes and thinking that you're just going to be the happiest man ever.
Right, and I'm a quality time person, so
it's like I just want you to sit on the couch.
Yeah, and so it's like it's great. It's really, really great to read and understand each way that you and her are loved. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of information out there to understand that. Mm-hmm. And if you don't willingly, intentionally practice how to do that, there will be a lot of friction. And we say that out of experience because obviously there's been a lot of friction. And it's helped us grow, it's helped us learn.
Totally.
Through pain and toil and trial and error, we've gotten better at it for sure.
I mean, I'm the older one, so obviously wiser, but...
Yeah, BT Dubs. Jess is 30 and I'm 28, so yeah, whatever.
Almost 29, so it's a year and a half.
But I'd also say that one piece of advice that I think is really tough to put into place in a practical example is that Jess and I were friends for years before we were anything romantic, and that helped us have a non-biased view of each other's personalities. Mm-hmm. She and I, because we were friends before, we weren't just trying to slam our personalities together to make them work. Being friends beforehand, we knew a lot of the shortcomings that each of us had, mm-hmm. and understood what issues we had in the past too, from our families, what kind of household we were raised in, and how that left us reaching for what we need to feel loved and valued and appreciated. And so that helped us really understand what each other need on a daily basis, just to feel like we were someone worth being around. And I think that's the key to a marriage, is just knowing that the other person has you in mind whenever they're making a decision, whenever they're making an action. And it's hard to do, but I mean, it's really, really important to be able to make it work. I grew up in a household where talking negatively about myself mentally was normal for me. And you helped me realize that a positive mindset and constantly looking on the brighter side of life truly does help change your mental state. And that allows me to be better in my job. It allows me to be a better husband because I'm not talking so negatively about myself. And I've realized that when I talk negatively about myself, it typically manifests itself talking negatively about you. And I know that you love to be encouraged. And so understanding that me talking negative about myself makes me talk negative about you at times. And I've had to get better at that because it's made me really grateful for the time that I've been around you. And it's made me really appreciate what a positive view on life is. Because in the end, I'm happier even when bad things happen, even when negative things happen, even when painful things happen. I'm able to approach them from a more balanced mindset of there is good and bad in life, and you will always have that. Mm-hmm. You will always have good and bad in life. But you have a person that you are vulnerable enough to walk through both the good and bad with. Mm-hmm. And your ability to understand that has been more meaningful to me than anybody else I've been around.
Thank you. What am I most grateful for is so easy. I too want to reference my childhood because I grew up in a really judgmental home. There was a right way and a wrong way, and a rule to follow, and something to not do, or something to be shamed about, and something to be proud about. And with you, I've never felt so much freedom to express, to say, to be, to ask anything and everything. You have given me so much freedom to explore what it looks like for me to be more career-minded than home-minded, or for at times, and more, in just different ways you've allowed me to sit down and express what it feels like to explore And I don't think that anybody else could have done that for me but you, because you'll entertain all of that. You are so free and so non-judgmental that I don't ever feel ashamed to tell you anything. And that's changed my whole world.